We have discussed up to frequency polygon, right? So what is there in
Yes.
frequency polygon? What we discussed in frequency polygon? We'll have to draw the histogram first, right? We'll have to draw the histogram first, and then what we have to do? We have to identify the midpoint of the column on each bar. Okay, identify the midpoint of the bar. This is the bar. Okay, and join using the line. After doing this, the line we obtained is known as the frequency polygon. This line is known as frequency polygon. Remember one thing, while drawing the frequency polygon, we may have hypothetical bar here on the left side and on the right side of the histogram we have drawn already. Okay, hypothetical bar. And considering the midpoint of the hypothetical bar, we'll have to draw the line in such a way so that it touches the x-axis on both end. Okay, touch the x-axis on both end and create a closed curve. Okay, so this particular curve is known as frequency polygon. Okay, our next one is ogive. This is basically the representation of cumulative frequency. So when we are going to compute the cumulative frequency, we have already understand that we may have two different types of cumulative frequency. One is less than type cumulative frequency, another one is greater than type cumulative frequency. So if we are going to plot this cumulative frequency in the curve, then it will form the ogive, right? Clear? If we draw the cumulative frequency, it will form the ogive. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So then let's see what is there. There is, we have already discussed that we have two different types of cumulative frequency. One is less than type cumulative frequency, another one is greater than type cumulative frequency. Can you remember this one? We have discussed this thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now if we are going to plot the less than type cumulative frequency in the curve, then it will form the less than type ogive. If we are going to plot the greater than type cumulative frequency, then it will form the greater than type ogive. So based on the cumulative frequency, we may have two different types of ogive. One is less than type ogive, another one is greater than type ogive, right? Look at this data point here. This is our class interval. This is our classes. There is 6 different class in this particular data set, and there is corresponding frequency. So from this we can easily calculate the cumulative frequency, right? So this is the cumulative frequency. In the very first one, we are going to calculate the less than type cumulative frequency. It is mentioned here, less than type cumulative frequency, which is starts in the forward way. Okay, and next one is greater than type cumulative frequency in reverse way. Okay, now if we plot this against particular class interval, if we plot this particular cumulative frequency against this class interval, it will form the ogive. Look at this image here. So if we plot the less than type cumulative frequency, it will form this one. It will be like this. Okay, for this we have just computed the class. So this is class, and for each class we have to plot it. So this is first class, then second class, third class, fourth class, like this. Similarly, if we plot the greater than type cumulative frequency, then it will form this line, and this will known as the greater than type ogive. Okay, now the junction point between these two will decide the median value. Okay, if we are talking about the median value in this way, then the coordinate point in the y-axis will give the median value for this particular, this one, frequency. And if we are talking about median in this way, then again the coordinate value in this particular point will give the median value for this particular line. Okay, so in that case, remember one thing: if we are going to draw only one curve, either less than type or greater than type, we will have to identify the frequency or identify the coordinate point which decide the middle position of the frequency. Okay, so this will give the median value, and we can easily calculate median from the curve by drawing the ogive only. Is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Everyone clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, very
Yes,
good.
sir.
So till now, what we have done, discussed the distribution of the parameters for which we have quantitative data. Okay. Now our data may be qualitative also. Okay. Data may be attributes also. So if our data is attributes, so in that case, how we represent our data? Can anyone guess? This is a example I am just representing here. There is no quantitative data in this particular example, and only some name is mentioned here. So how we represent this data? Can anyone guess? Anyone can you guess?
Sir, pie chart,
Pie chart. Okay, very good. Then
Bar
how we
graph.
draw pie
bar
chart?
graph, line
Bar
graph.
graph.
Bar chart, bar graph. Okay, we can represent this one. So how we represent using pie chart or bar graph? What will be the procedure here?
Tally marks.
Tally marks. Yes, excellent. Then
Percentage.
Sir,
percentage.
line graph.
Yes, very good. So we can do anything. So before that, we will have to represent data in a tabular form, right? Otherwise, we will not be able to draw either a histogram, bar chart, pie chart. No, nothing can be drawn without arranging the data in a proper manner. So very basic thing is we'll have to organize the data in such a manner so that we can do that things. Okay. So what we have to do here? Tally mark. I got an answer from you. This is tally mark, then calculate percentage. Very good. These are the answers. So very first things is we'll have to identify the frequency table basically. So for to draw the frequency table, we just simply use tally mark. Okay. So frequency table. So how we draw the frequency table here? Very first one is we have to mention this one is Coke Classic one. How many Coke Classic is there will be the frequency for Coke Classic. Then how many Diet Coke is there will be the frequency for Diet Coke. How many Pepsi is there will be the frequency for Pepsi, like this. So in this way we will have to identify how many attributes is there and their corresponding frequency. Clear?
Yes, sir.
If we have the class, so we can consider this one class, Coke as a class, Diet Coke as another class, Pepsi as another class, and there will be corresponding frequency. So if we have prepared this particular table, sir, we can do anything using this data after that, right? Now let's see. So very first one is we have this 6 different types of Coke, 5 different types of soft drink. Okay, 5 different types of soft drink, and I have just identified the frequency here. So for Coke Classic, 19 is the frequency. For Diet Coke, it is 8. For Dr. Pepper, it is 5. For Pepsi, it is 13, and Sprite, it is 5. So these are the frequency. Okay, for corresponding class. So if we have this frequency, we can easily calculate relative frequency. Can anyone tell me how we calculate the relative frequency? What is the procedure?
Total frequency by the soft drink frequency.
Frequency for the class divided by
By
total
total
frequency.
Total
Yes,
frequency.
very good. Okay. So in this way, you can calculate relative frequency. One way, you can calculate the percentage frequency also. The same thing. Relative frequency is expressed in terms of percentage. Can you do that?
Yes, sir.
We can consider this as 100. Once we convert it into percentage, it will be 100. So based on this, we can easily compute the category. If we are going to draw the pie chart, angle also you can draw, calculate from this data. Is that possible?
Yes, sir.
Everyone, is that possible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, if we are going to draw the bar chart, look here, it will be look like this. Coke Classic, one class, Diet Coke, another one, Pepper, then Pepsi, then Sprite. So we have the frequency here, and we know that in the bar graph, the column indicates the frequency. Okay, so we can easily draw. If we have this frequency table, then we can easily draw a bar graph. From this frequency table, we can draw line graph also. From this frequency table, we can draw frequency, we can draw ogive, we can draw frequency polygon, anything. You can draw pie chart also. So if we are going to draw pie chart, it will look like this one. Okay? Everyone, it is clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yes, sir.
So if we have categorical data, in that case also we can draw the chart we have discussed. Precondition is we'll have to convert this data into frequencies, right? And after, once we convert it into frequencies, we can do anything. It will become again numerical data. So using numerical data, we can do anything. Okay, so up to this, we have discussed the frequency distribution. Now try to understand what is frequency distribution. This is very tabular summary of the data we have collected and representation in curve. This is frequency distribution. So there is some advantage and disadvantage of frequency distribution. We have already discussed everything regarding frequency distributions. Okay. Till now, whatever we discussed is a part of frequency distribution. So now there is some advantage. Very first one is the very useful in arranging the data in a meaningful or compact way so that we can get meaningful information from this particular data. It will help us to observe the characteristics of the data we have, and then we may apply statistical methods. As I already told you that if once we convert it into numerical data, we can do anything. So we can apply, once we converted the data into frequency distribution, then we can easily apply any statistical tools to analyze the characteristics of the data and drawing conclusions or inferences, anything. Okay. So when advantage is there, there must be disadvantage also. Remember one thing, advantage and disadvantage come together. Neither advantage nor disadvantage comes alone. Both will be coming together, okay? So disadvantage is also there. So what are the disadvantages? Very first one is individual identity lose their identity. Individual entity lose their identity. That means we have a marks, one student marks is 58 out of 100. Another one obtained 78 out of 100. So this is their individual marks, okay? So if we have 100 students, then what we do here, we simply create a category 50 to 60 marks. 50 to 60 category, how many students obtained? So in that case, what happened? The person obtained 58, person obtained 78, there is no meaning for this particular case. So they simply lose their individual identity and get a group identity here. Okay. So in that case, another advantage is regarding the group length. If we are having too many groups, I already told you, too many groups, that means it will again create a chaos. And if we have too few groups, then again also we are going to lose the proper identity. So we'll have to select the proper number of groups. So if our number of group is less than 5, then there may be too much clustering in observations in various classes. So we'll have to remember that our class should be at least 5 depending on the class length. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So this is very basic things, you just remember this one. Okay, once you just read once and it will be in your memory for the ever. Okay, so our next is different terminologies we have already discussed. So now I expect the answer from your side. What is this terminology mean here? So very first one is class interval. We have discussed. What is this class interval? Anyone? I'm waiting for your response only.
Sir, it's like
Sir, upper
0
limit,
to
lower
5 to 10, like that.
One by one, please. Okay. So class interval, what is class interval here? So if we are considering this 16 to 21 class, we have already discussed this one, right? 16 to 20, if this is one class, so the range in between this one, this is our class interval, right?
Yes, sir.
This is class interval. The next term is class frequency. What is class frequency?
So the number of like digits containing in that range, in That
Number
Yes,
of
interval.
excellent.
number
Number of
of
occurrences.
observations in a class interval.
Yes, number of observations. Very good. So this is class frequency. Next one is class limit.
Two
What
ends
is
of a
class?
class interval.
Yes, two
Two
ends.
ends of a
Yes,
class.
excellent. Very good. Very good. Then class boundary.
Sir,
What is? Go ahead. What
sir,
is
lower
class?
limit and upper limit of the class. Sir.
No, no, no. We have already discussed this. We have a home here. This is our home. And
We
if
have
we
to
are
use
going
half
to
into
build the
D.
boundary, we'll have to build outside the home, right? That means boundary will be outside. Okay?
Yes.
20 and then the other one.
Yes. So how we calculate the boundary here? If it is lower boundary, that means lower limit minus
Minus
half
half
of the
by D.
distance.
Upper
Yes.
limit.
Half of the distance between two class, right?
Yes, sir.
If it is upper limit, then upper limit plus half of the distance
Half
between
of
two
the
class.
distance.
Okay? Clear?
Yes,
So
sir.
there
Yes,
is
sir,
nothing
clear.
difficult here. So this is class boundary. Then class width. What is class width?
Upper limit minus lower limit.
Upper limit minus lower limit.
Is that class
Upper
width?
class boundary minus lower class boundary.
Yes, excellent. Upper
Yes,
class
sir.
boundary minus lower class boundary. This is class width. Don't mess with class limit and class width, okay? If we are talking about class
Okay,
length,
sir.
then this will be class limit. When we are talking about class width, this will be upper class limit minus lower class limit, lower class boundary, okay? Not limit, okay? Next one is mid value.
Upper class boundary plus lower class boundary by
Upper
2.
class boundary by 2.
Adding
Average.
two class limit by 2.
Is that boundary or limit?
Limit.
Sir, limits.
Adding two
Limit.
class limits by 2.
Yes, it will be limit. Okay. So read carefully. There is nothing in these definitions. Very simple. But you will have to carefully read. Okay. Next one is frequency density. What is frequency density?
Class frequency by width of the class.
Yes, class frequency divided by class width. Excellent. Okay. Then frequency percentage. It is very easy, right?
Into 100.
Anyone? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Class frequency divided by total frequency multiplied by 100. Right?
Sir.
This is frequency percentage. Then cumulative frequency. We have already discussed two types of cumulative frequency. Less than type, greater than type.
Less than,
Remember one
greater
thing, okay?
than.
Oh yes, very good. Then relative frequency or frequency ratio.
Sir,
How we
the
complete
class
this one?
frequency by total frequency.
Class frequency by total frequency. Excellent. Very good. Okay. So we have already discussed these things for frequency distribution. So I hope now you have a clear idea what is frequency distributions and what are the different terminologies we'll have to understand. Right? I
Yes,
hope
sir.
it is clear to you now.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So if there is anyone if you have any doubt regarding this, you may contact me freely anytime. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, next one is we have multivariate data. Till now, we are talking about only one variable. That means marks obtained by students in business statistics or profit of this particular product or income of the employee like this. So we just talked about only one variable. So when we are discussing about one variable, that means it will known as univariate distribution or univariate data. We have only one variable. Okay. So if similarly, if we are talking about more than one variable, say for example, we are talking about the marks obtained in business statistics, then marks obtained for a particular student, okay? Marks obtained in business statistics, then marks obtained in economics, then marks obtained in other subjects. So if we are talking about, you have 7 subject different. So if we are talking about for a particular students, what is the marks obtained in different subjects? So it will create, so multiple variable will be there, not only one. If you have 7, then 7 variable will be there. So when our number of variable is more than 1, it will be multivariate data. Okay, so if data similarly, if it has two variable, in that case it will create the bivariate data. Look, if you have two variable, it will be bivariate data. Look at this example here. So in this example, we consider two different variable. One is income and another one is percentage expenditure on food for 25 families. Okay, percentage expenditure on food for 25 families. So if we are going to take the value for this one variable income, another variable is expenditure. So this is our two variable. We have considered two variable here for family number. We can take the serial number here, 25 families. So this is for serial number 1, serial number 2, serial number 3, like this. For each family, we consider two parameters. One is income, another one is expenditure. So that's why it is bivariate data. Okay. Is that clear? Bivariate data is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Everyone clear? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Once we have variable more than 2, then we call it multivariate data. Okay. Now look, this data, this particular data, if we represent in a table by identifying the frequency, okay. If we decide the frequency and represent in a table, that means our interval is 2000 to 3000 income category. How many families is there who spend this amount? These are the amount: 12%, 14%, 15%, like this. Okay. So in this case, we just take the group for income and group for expenditure also. So if we plot this in the curve, it will be look like this. So these are the income groups. This is first group 2000 to 3000, then second group 3 to 4000, then third group 4 to 5000, then fourth group this one, and this is fifth group. Okay. Similarly, expenditure level 10 to 15% of the income, 15 to 20% of the income, then 20 to 25% of the income, and 25 to 30% of the income. So now look here, we just represented the data in a tabular form. In this table, in this way, in horizontal way, we have the income category. In vertically, we have the expenditure category. So basically, technically, we are representing two different variable in the same table. Okay. So this is bivariate data representation, and we use the tally mark here. These are the tally marks. So how many families are there in a particular category? If we are talking about the very first one, the expenditure level 10 to 15% of the income. So how many families are there? For what? We have to identify this first income category. There is no one, so 0. Second income category, there is again no one, again 0. Third income category, again no one, again 0. Fourth income category, 5000 to 6000, two families are there who spend 10 to 15% of their income for the food. Okay. Similarly, for this one, fifth group, there are 4 families who spend 10 to 15% of their income for food. Okay. So in this way, we have just drawn the table. So now, when we are going to draw the table in this format, it will create a conditional distribution here. So if the income is this one, how many is there? If income is this one, how many families are there? If income is this one, how many families are there who spend this one? So this is basically create a conditional distribution. So this is conditional distribution of this data representation. Okay. So if we are talking about this particular group here, conditional distribution of 10 to 15% expenditure. So you can say that in this particular expenditure, the families having income 5 to 6,000 is 2, and 6 to 7,000 is 4. For all other parts, it is 0. This example, consider here 15 to 20% income, total income, 15 to 20% spent on food. Okay. So in 2000 to 3000 category, there is no one, no family. In 3000 to 4000, there is 3 family. 4000 to 5000, there is again 4 family. Count it here. Okay. 4 family. Then 5 to 6, 2, and 6 to 7, 2. So this is the conditional distributions of representation of the bivariate data. So in this way, we can represent multivariate data also. Okay, is that clear?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that clear?
Yes, sir.
Everyone
Yes,
clear?
sir.
Okay, very good. So here is an example. I will share the PPT to you at the end of the day today. Okay. So you will have to solve this one. You have to create the bivariate frequency table first, then conditional distribution. Okay. Will it be possible? If there is any query, please let me know.
Yes, sir.
Possible? Okay,
Yes.
very
Very
good.
nice.
So I will share this one. You have to solve it. Okay.
Okay,
Our
sir.
next part is descriptive statistics. So we are talking about descriptive statistics. Before starting descriptive statistics, we just discussed about data representation in table and graphs. Okay. Now, once we represent the data in tables and graphs, it will be a meaningful data. And by applying any statistical tools, we can easily draw conclusions based on the data. Okay. So representation of the data is not only sufficient to draw conclusions, so we'll have to apply some statistics also. What are the different statistics we have in descriptive statistics? Very first one is measure of central tendency. When we are talking about distribution of data in table or graph, it is never telling us when our data is following particular trend, or where is the concentration of the data is high or low, like this. So we are not going to get the meaningful um information from the data representation unless we apply some statistics. Okay. So very first one is measuring the central tendency, which decide the diversification or deviation of the data from our goal. So we'll have to take that this is only one single value which represent the entire data. This is measure of central tendency. In measure of central tendency, we have mean, median, and mode. Next one is measure of dispersion, how our data is dispersed from the target. To measure this one, we'll have to measure range, variance, standard deviation, and coefficient of variation. Okay. And third one is not only dispersion or central tendency is sufficient to get meaningful information. In that case, we'll have to identify another measure, which is symmetricity, whether our data is close to our target or our data is highly concentrated to either left side or right side of the target. So this is the measure of skewness. Okay. So we are going to learn these things one by one, how to decide mean, median, mode, range, variance, standard deviation, and skewness. Okay, one by one. So very first one is the definition of measure of central tendency. What is the definition here? We just try to get a single value which reflects the data center of the data we have collected. Okay. So a central tendency is located around the central part, which represents an average characteristics of the distribution. So basically we'll have to measure the average. So very first one is, before starting with the statistics, we may have to identify some conditions is there to start with the central tendency. Very first one is rigidly defined. Our central tendency can be measured by mean, median, or mode. So we will have to decide first which one to take, whether mean, median, or mode. Okay. After that, we'll have to identify the entire observations and calculate the value for mean, median, or mode. So that means our observations should be based on all observations. Decision should be based on all observations. That's one. Least variation should be there. If there is very high value or very less value, that means it will affect the entire system. So we'll have to remember that our data should have least variation. Capable of algebraic treatment. Okay. So nature of the average should be such that it could be used for statistical analysis of the data set. For example, it should be possible to determine the average production in a particular year by use of average production of every month. So basically, once we have the data set, we can easily draw the curve data, take the data and predict in future course. Okay, and another one is unaffected by extreme observations. Extreme observations means if our data is ranges from 0 to 100, our expectation is most of the data should be lying around 50 in the which position in the middle. Okay, around 50. So maximum data towards 0 or maximum data towards 100 is not expected. So extreme large or extreme small value should be eliminated from our calculations. So this extreme value is known as outliers. Okay, clear? Extreme left or extreme right value is known as outlier. So we'll have to remove them from our calculations. Is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So these are the
Yes, sir.
preconditions for measuring the central tendency. Okay. Now I am starting with the very first one, that is arithmetic mean, mathematical average. Okay. When we are talking about mean, then it may be mathematical average or may be average position. If we are talking about mathematical average, we have the mean. Arithmetic mean, I hope you learned this one. Arithmetic mean, geometric mean and harmonic mean. You have already familiar with this term, I hope, right? Are you familiar with the term? If we are talking about
Yes,
positional mean, yes. That means we have median, quartile, dectile, percentile and mode. So I don't know whether this term you are familiar with this term or not, but you must be familiar with this term because it is there in your class too, right? So I'm going to start
Yes.
with the very first one is arithmetic mean. When you are talking about arithmetic means, how we take the arithmetic mean? Can anyone guess? What is the procedure? Taking the means, you have the students, 50 students in your class, and they scored some marks in mathematics or business statistics. So how we calculate the average marks here? Anyone? How we compute the average marks?
So by adding all the given observations by total observation.
Yes, very good, very simple. You just simply add the observations and divide by the numbers. Very simple, nothing complex here. So look here, the very first one is, these are the observations. Okay, if we have n number of observations, so we have to take the sum of all observations and divide it. Whether it may be sample or it may be populations, in both the cases rule is same. Simply add them and divide by the number. Very good, very easy. Okay, so here is an example. So marks obtained by 30 students. These are the marks for 30 students. Okay, so what we have to do here, simply add all the marks here. How we add? 10 plus 20 plus 36 plus 92 plus 95, like this. So we have to add up to 88. That means 30 entity is there. We just add 30 entity. So our observation is 30. Number of observation is 30. And our total sum of the observations is 1779. So if we are going to take the average here, the rule is simply divide the total sum by the number of observations here. This will be the average. So it is very easy, right? It is very easy.
Yeah, sir.
Okay, so next one, this is ungrouped data. For this is an example, I will share it, you just solve it, okay, in your home. So next one is, if our data is grouped or discrete data, that means we have the frequency with the data. So what we can do here, we have to do first example. We have already observed that if our marks obtained by 10 marks obtained by 5 students. Okay, 10 marks obtained by 5 students. So total marks obtained by these 5 students will be 50, right? By this 5 students will be 50. Then again 15 marks obtained by 2 students. So total marks obtained by these 2 students will be 2 into 15. That means 30. If we are talking about total marks obtained by all the students, that means we'll have to take the sum in this way. So that means 80. And how many students is there? Total 7 students is there. So how we calculate the average here? So 80 by 7. Okay, 80 by 7. So in that case, if we are talking about, we know that this is our x value, this is our target value, and this is our frequency. So how we compute the average here? So x into, this is x into f. We have already done this one, x into f, right? So x, this x will be multiplied by f, and we will get the total value here. Then again for the second column also same rule. So after that, we'll have to take the sum for each and every xf and divided this sum with the total frequency we have. So this will give the arithmetic mean of the group data or discrete data, right? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I have mentioned an example here. Look at this example. So very first one is, this is the formula, x1 f1, then x2 f2, x3 f3. So in this way we'll have to calculate the total value and then divide the total frequency f1, f2, f3 like this. Okay, so this is the formula. Now look at this example here. This is the LED bulb used by different families. Okay, so if this is one LED bulb, how many household use? 2. Now look, this is our x value and this is our frequency. Two houses there which used one LED bulb. 2 LED bulb, how many houses used? This is 4. Okay, then 3, 6 houses. So total LED bulb for this particular first category is 2. For second category, total LED bulb is 8. For third category, it is 18, and for fourth category, it is 32. Okay, it is 32. So if we add this, it will give a result of total 60. Right? Total 60 bulb is there. In how many households?
20.
Frequency, sum of the frequency, yes, 20. So what will be the average here? Average is very simple. Fx divided by this one. The formula, this is x1 f1, which is 60, divided by total sum of frequency. This is 20. So it will give a result of 3. It is very easy, right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
It is very easy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So similarly, this is our discrete data. Okay, this is our discrete data. So what we have to do, if our data is in, this is an example, I will share it. Okay, you have to solve it. Three example. Then if our data have a frequency and group, then what we have to do here in that case? Look at this example here. 50 employees of an organization's salary is there, so we have to calculate the average salary. So how we compute here? So very fast rule is, we have the, in this particular category 2 employees there, in this category 3 employees, 4, in this category 6, like this. So what we have to do here to get the arithmetic mean? So first of all, we'll have to take the middle value of the class. How we take the middle value? Simply lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2. So very first one is, it will be 15, right? So in this case, we can take the middle value as 15, then 25, then 35, like this. These are the middle value. Is that clear to you? 45. So in this category, we have 2 employees. So total value for this category will be 2 into 30, 2 into 15, which is 30. Okay. For the second category, total value will be 25 into 4, that means 100. Okay. For the third category, 35 into 6, that means 210. Okay. So in this way, we have to calculate the total sum for this particular category, and finally we'll have to take the total value in this category, total sum xf. Okay, total value will be, you can consider it as x, and total frequency is 50, it is given here. So what will be the average here? The same rule, the x, summation of x divided by summation of f, xf, summation of xf divided by summation of f. So rule is same, very simple. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
very
yes.
good.
Sir,
So
attendance.
based on this, yes, based on this, we have
Yes.
another example. This is another example. I'm just giving you very few insights regarding this example. In this example, we have the income category here, and based on this income category, company is planning to give the bonus. So if this is in this category, it will give the bonus 1,000 like this. Okay. So and the income of their employees is given here, gross income. Okay. So from this, we'll have to calculate the frequency table first, and based on this, we'll have to calculate the average bonus. Okay. Clear? What will be the average bonus? So you have to solve this one also. So there will be total 4 examples, 4 practices you have to solve.